Welcome to Soulprint. Thank you very, very much for being here on this Monday morning. All right. Now, for a lot of people who maybe are sensitive, or have intuition, maybe psychic, they often will get like messages like, when they're doing something else. Um, washing dishes, vacuuming, I don't know. I tend to get mine in the shower. So there I am this morning, Sunday morning, taking a shower, kind of thinking about my day. But I was also thinking about two like podcasts or little videos that I had seen. One I believe was David Packman, and the other one I'm pretty sure was The Ring of Fire. And between the two of them, this is basically what they said. The American people, by a large majority, blame Trump and the Republicans for the shutdown. But what was even more interesting was that that same polling also showed that by an overwhelming majority, the American people said that saving healthcare was more important than reopening the government, which it just tells you a lot about how tone deaf the Republicans are about what's going on. The other one was a little blurb about Mike Johnson just having figured out that they lose the midterms. They're going to, at a minimum, undo all of the good hard work that they have spent the last year and intend to spend the next year doing. Like it finally dawned on him that how they're behaving and what they're doing is not actually a winning proposition for them. So as I said, I'm in the shower, I'm, thinking about this. And this is the message I got. Sit down, buckle up. You're going to love this one. So I said, okay, what happens when the Democrats have another blue wave from midterms? And this was the sequence of events they showed me. The first thing that's going to happen, now this is assuming that 45 is still in office at the midterms, okay? Hopefully he won't be, but this is what I was shown. When there is a blue wave, November of 2026, if Trump does not choose to leave office or the country, he will be immediately impeached. He will be found like guilty, right? Because there's two parts to the impeachment, right? And will be removed from office. At which point he's going to probably figure out that, according to the most recent Supreme Court ruling, presidents do not get a get out of free card, a jail free card, right? They can absolutely be sued when they're not in office. They're not exempt. So it's not going to take him very long to figure out that, wait a minute, on top of everything else, I'm probably going to get sued. At which point he's going to skedaddle himself out of the country. Okay, so what happens next? That puts Vance stepping into the role of president. So now he's a real piece of work. Just recently, he basically said, "We are going to do what we want to do with those SNAP benefits, and no court is going to tell us how to run the government." Well, the court isn't telling you how to run the government. The court is telling you you're breaking the law. Stop doing it. But that's his attitude. Well, he also is going to get impeached. Now, if he has elected a vice president, one of two things is going to happen. Either that vice president is going to figure out in a real big hurry, he better get to center and fast, or he's also going to get tossed out of office. If for whatever reason Vance does not select a vice president quickly enough, that then would put the presidency in the hands of the Democratic House Speaker. So fascinating. So I thought today, to add on to that, I would take a look and see what some of the impact, short term and long term, are for are given the results of Tuesday's election. So I think one of the things that was most fascinating was the strategic thinking, right? I mean, people were obviously being very mindful of, if I vote for this is what's going to happen. If I vote for this, that's what's going to happen. And they were choosing the route of higher intention. So that is incredibly exciting, because that, of course, is the one thing that I and others have been like squawking about, which is, if you don't choose the route of higher intention and the United States goes in the other direction, it's going to take forever to fix it, because they will systematically destroy everything that the United States is and apparently stands for. So I want to ask Spirit what we should take away from the results of Tuesday's election. Certainly, the vision or images that I was given are very, very encouraging. Um, Even though it might mean um, he stays in office for um, until the midterms. Now, I don't think that's written in stone. Um, I don't know that he's still going to actually be in office. Certainly not by spring, but we shall see, right? So, Spirit, what can you tell us? All right. So, the first thing that they want us to understand is that the Republicans, like, are shocked that people have rejected them. And by extension, 45. They they didn't see it coming. Their arrogance and their feeling of superiority are so pronounced, so strong, that honestly, it never entered their mind that they weren't gonna, come out ahead. And there are other, like, smaller elections coming up. Um, I think there's one at the beginning of December. I think there's one in March. These are just for specific seats in specific places. Those are also, as of right now, going to go blue. Doesn't matter what state they're in, they're going blue. I mean, when Mississippi votes blue for whatever it was they voted blue for, whoever it was, that's super telling. Okay, that is telling you that they are finally understanding that the man they put in office to bring prosperity and stability has done nothing but brought chaos and poverty. And they're getting hurt and they feel betrayed and they don't like it. So you're going to see more of that sort of like strategic thinking. So then the next question is, okay, but how bad are things going to get gerrymandered? This is their answer, short and succinct. Not enough. They are not going to be able to gerrymander enough to take away the power of the people. And I think what you're going to see over the next many months is more and more states simply playing that one-upmanship game. And that's going to make it a very tense midterms, except for the fact that I'm being told that where the shock and awe is going to come from is what they thought were red areas that are not going to stay red. Now, there are going to be some red areas that become so red that they're like burgundy. But there's also going to be red areas that go purple and blue. And that is what the Republicans are not counting on. In some ways, they've fallen into the same trap that the Democrats had fallen into, which is, oh, we don't need to worry about that state because they're blue and they're always going to stay blue and we can count on and we can rely on them. Well, they found out that no, in fact, you can't, because there is no guarantee about how a voter is going to vote. And so that's actually going to end up being the downfall of the Republicans, is that they take for granted certain areas that they are quite sure are going to stay red, and they don't. That's where the upset is going to be. And it's going to be enough, I'm being told, that the numerical spread between the parties is significant enough that the Democrats are going to be able to basically get a whole lot of things done without a lot of interference from the Republicans sort of stopping and stalling them all over the place. Um, you're also going to see Republicans not crossing the floor as much as siding with the Dems. Whether they all have, I don't know, like come to Jesus moment, or they're just terrified of losing their seat. But you're going to see Republicans who are saying, I can no longer. Okay. Um, it also feels, I'm being told, that you're going to see Nancy Pelosi announced at the end of last week that she will not be seeking another term. And I mean, enough already. But you're also going to see some of the more elderly politicians basically saying, yeah, done. I'm going to get out while I can still get out and have at least some sort of a reputation. So don't be surprised by that. Don't be surprised if there are more announcements coming up from some of the um, elderly. They're showing me faces, and unfortunately, my brain isn't clicking fast enough to attach their name to their face. But I'm looking at least three others who are going to um, announce retirement. As long as the American people stay focused, motivated, and don't give in to fear and anxiety, things will continue to unfold in a way that sets the country on that course of higher intention. And one of the things that the country is going to have figured out is there really is such a thing as karma. And there have been sort of past sins, if you will, that need to be acknowledged and rectified, if possible. And some of the sort of arrogance that the United States has had for a long time, certainly since the end of World War II, where they just sort of assumed the mantle of the most powerful country on the planet and have not let go of that. And what has happened is over time, they sort of changed from sort of the country viewing itself like a statesman, right? Like somebody who could talk to both sides and who could, find working solutions. They've gone from that to, the bully and the you're going to do what I say. And as you can see from the whole tariff situation, it's not exactly working out the way they expected it to. Countries are saying done. Just as an example, the latest jobs report came out in Canada, and we created 66,000 new jobs. The United States lost I think it was 156,000 jobs. So, and you have Japan and you have China and you have the UK all shifting their trading alliances. And so what was a sure thing is not anymore. And I'm asking, and they're saying that the Supreme Court is going to rule that basically that Trump issued the tariffs under like a false flag, right? He came up with an emergency so he could then play the tariff card. I'm hearing that the Supreme Court is not buying that argument, and they are less than impressed with that Sutter, I think is his name, um, who was rude and belligerent and aggressive in the Supreme Court, for God's sakes. That didn't exactly win him any friends. So the question then becomes, what happens if all of a sudden all of those other countries start suing the United States for their money back? Not to mention the fact that unless they do some sort of blanket payoff, um, the citizens, the people who actually ended up taking the hit, are not going to see their money recovered. And so that is only going to aggravate them even more. And this is the thing, right? When it comes to political agendas and things they do or don't do, people really do have short memories. But when you hurt me, when you impact my ability and my quality of life, when I can't afford groceries or gas or eggs, and you have no way of compensating for that, I'm going to remember that one. Oh, yes, I sure am. I'm going to remember that one. And what has happened is even those people who felt that the Republicans were better when it came to handling the economy are coming to understand that that's not an accurate statement. Certainly not under this current administration. So the short message is keep up the good work because energetically the shift has started to happen. And I'm sure that Kathy Beal from Professional Aquarian would tell you that there's all kinds of really amazing, like astrological events that are supporting this going forward. So the timing is working and your hard work is working. So let's keep positive thoughts and results foremost in our mind. One of the things that you're all going, or not all of you, but some of you are going to need to be aware of is sort of that hidden resentment or anger. I always get a little concerned when somebody in a comment section, for example, will say, I will never forgive blank for doing blank, because that's exactly the energy that feeds them and weakens you. So there, over the next little while, it's really important that these sort of shadow feelings, right? The ones that are buried a little bit, that they get addressed and that you let go of what you can let go, because anger and resentment only hurt you. Okay. If you think that you're hurting Trump or Merrick Garland or the Republicans by being angry with them, you're not. And the act of forgiveness does not excuse a behavior. What it means is, for your own highest interests, you are releasing the anger, the upset, the disappointment, whatever it is. So keep that in mind, because you know what is it? I think the latest one was it takes 5 positive thoughts to cancel 1 negative. Ponder that for a second. And think about the fact that as human beings, we really don't infuse ourselves with positive thoughts and positive energy. We latch on to the negatives and we don't focus on the positives. And that right there is why it takes so many more positive thoughts to compensate for 1 negative, because we emotionally attach to the negative. I don't know why we do it. Maybe as we continue to evolve and the dimensions shift, maybe we will have figured out that that's not exactly working for us. Um, you know what? 5 people can say, "You look amazing." And one person can say, "You're showing your age," or whatever. We completely block the 5 amazings and take into and absorb the lower vibration comment. Don't do that. Let go of what you can't change, because you can't change it. But you certainly can create an abundance of positive thoughts, energy, and blessings. So that's what you should do. Thank you very, very much for being here. Comments in the comment section below, please. Or questions in the comment section below for Pendulum Friday in the comment section below. I'm booking private readings beginning of December. If that's something that interests you, just send an email to soulprint888@gmail.com and I will send you what you need to know. Take care. Be well. See you soon.